We live in a town in West Yorkshire. It's very built up, and there are houses and people everywhere. We don't go into the countryside very much. A few weeks ago, we went to visit my auntie, who lives miles away. On the way back, my dad decided to take a new way home. My dad said we're going through the Yorkshire Dales National Park. He explained that there are quite few national parks, and that they're the most beautiful landscape in the country. And it was lovely, with rolling hills and deep valleys and a lot of different colours. The houses in the villages looked very old and didn't look like our house at all. Then, to my surprise, my dad drove into a small car park at the side of the road and stopped. Dad said it would be okay if we wanted to get out of the car for a few minutes. I wasn't sure we were allowed to because we were in a national park, but Dad said it was all right. My brother said it didn't look like a park. Me and my brother got out. My mum said she wasn't getting out, and she wasn't sure why we would come all this way and why we stopped. Dad sat down at one of the picnic tables. Me and my brother went to the edge of the river. At first I was looking at the water rushing over the stones, watching the way it sparkled in the sunlight, and listening to the lovely sound it was making. But when I looked across at the other side, I saw rows and rows of green tubes sticking upright on the hillside. I couldn't work out what they were. When I asked my dad, he said they were plastic tree guards. My brother said, "Why do they need guarding? Is someone going to hurt them or steal them?" My dad put his phone in his pocket and said that because they're small, they need guarding against being eaten by sheep, rabbit, and deer. My brother then asked, how could they be eaten because there are hundreds of them? I agreed. I learnt at school that plastic is good for some things, but that all plastic we've ever made is still with us somewhere. So I asked my dad, why are they plastic? Our teachers told us that plastic's made from oil. And look, there are hundreds of them. What happens when the trees don't need guarding? And if this national park is supposed to be so special, why are they spoiling it with all those things? Dad laughed at so many questions. He said he didn't know all the answers, but said perhaps we should try and find out. By this time, Mum was getting impatient and was calling us from the car, so we climbed back in and set off home. I fell asleep on the way home and dreamt about tree guards filling up the hillsides and then changing into a flood of black oil flowing towards the river. The next day, I told my mum to help me do some research about tree guards. I found out that plastic tree guards have only been used for 50 years. I wondered what they used before we started making plastic tubes. Woods must have grown by themselves. Perhaps there are more rabbits and deers now, said Mum. I read that plastic tubes stop the animals from eating the young plants. They also act a bit like greenhouses around the tree, helping them to grow upwards and stop the new trees from getting tricked by other plants. We found out over the years massive numbers of trees have been cut down or died of disease or not cared for properly. So we need to plant loads more and make sure they survive. Mum also said we need to plant more trees to help stop climate breakdown. What I couldn't understand though was some trees grow naturally and we don't go around putting tree guards over the new seedlings in a wood. I told my teacher at school about all the plastic tree guards I have seen and what I found out. I told her I was worried about all this plastic in the national park. My teacher said that the tubes should split up when the trees are big enough, and then the plastic tubes would be collected up. But I said, me and my mum found out that there are more than 3 million tree guards in the Yorkshire Dales National Park alone. Who's going to collect all of them? My teacher said, yes, it is a big problem, And as we learnt in class about plastic, once they're made, they never go away. Eventually, they break down into microplastics, tiny pieces of plastic, which get into our soil, our river, and oceans, our drinking water, and even the air we breathe. What about recycling then? Asked one of my friends. My teacher said that only a very small amount of plastic gets recycled, and even then, it's still plastic, and it adds to a massive amount of plastic on the earth. My class voted that we should stop using plastic tree guards, and my teacher asked me to find out if there are any other ways to look after the young trees. I've done more research. I know that trees don't always need protecting, and if they really do need help, there are alternatives to plastic, such as sheet wool. In a lot of places, they know that some of the trees won't survive, so they just plant more and make sure the fences around them are good and strong to keep out the sheep and deer and rabbits. But now I've seen these tree guards, I can't stop seeing them. They're everywhere. They're in hedges, along the roads, in the parks, and all over the countryside. And because we're planting hundreds and thousands of trees to help stop climate breakdown, there are going to be loads more tree guards. So I think we should stop using plastic tree guards and polluting the countryside. If we can't do it everywhere, we should at least stop using them in the Yorkshire Dales and other national parks. I persuaded my mum and dad that we should join Friends of the Dales and help their campaign to get rid of plastic tree guards from the Yorkshire Dales National Park.
Friends of the Dales have been campaigning to stop plastic tree guards polluting the landscape of our national park and other protected areas. Like Amira and her family, please join Friends of the Dales. As a member, you can help with our work, or you can make a donation to help with our campaign.